The best day I've had in Kentucky was spent underground, and the second best was spent standing on top of a stone bridge in a forest. Neither one involved a horse or a bottle of whiskey. Both of those are here, and I'll get to them, but the reason to come is the rock. This state sits on a bed of limestone. Water eats holes in it, and the sandstone on top gets carved into arches you can walk across. That's the Kentucky nobody warns you about. 27 things to do here, best first. Number 1. Red River Gorge, an hour east of Lexington, inside Daniel Boone National Forest. That's the long belt of public woodland running down the eastern side of the state. There are more than 100 natural sandstone arches in that gorge, and no place east of the Rocky Mountains has more of them. Gray's Arch alone spans 79 feet. Climbers fly in from other continents to work these cliffs. The trails everybody photographs get packed though, and the fix is specific. People who hike here every weekend will send you to the Indian Creek area or the Rock Bridge Loop instead. Take the advice. The famous hikes are also wide open to the sun, so by July there's no shade to get out of. Number 2. 400 miles of passage have been mapped under Mammoth Cave National Park, near Cave City. Nobody has found the end of it. It's the longest cave system known anywhere on Earth, and surveyors are still adding miles. Book weeks ahead. Tours sell out across the whole summer, and the small group ones go first because they visit the fragile sections. People turn up in July expecting to walk in, and they never get below ground at all. Then pick the right tour because the park won't rank them for you. Book domes and dripstones. It drops you into a sinkhole, runs through the big chambers, and finishes at Frozen Niagara, a wall of orange stone that looks exactly like a waterfall someone froze halfway down. There's a shorter tour that only does Frozen Niagara, and you don't need it because this one already goes there. The cost is hundreds of stairs and steep stretches with no way out but forward. If that rules you out, the historic tour is 2 hours and far easier. For a bed, Cave City has a motel where the rooms are concrete teepees. I'd take that over a chain hotel off the interstate every time. Number 3, 68 feet high, 125 feet wide, and you hear it before you see it. Cumberland Falls is near Corbin in the southeast. The waterfall's worth the drive on its own. The moonbow is worth building the trip around. A moonbow is a rainbow thrown up out of the spray by moonlight instead of sunlight, so it comes out faint and silver rather than colored. This is the only waterfall in the Western Hemisphere where one appears predictably. The State Park Service publishes a schedule for it every year. You need a clear sky and a full moon or close to it, and the best showings land between midnight and 2 in the morning. So it isn't a stop, it's an evening. In daylight, walk the Eagle Falls Trail. Just under 2 miles, moderate, the best angle on the falls, and slick after rain. Number 4. Waverly Hill Sanatorium on a hill on the south side of Lovell. A sanatorium was a hospital built to isolate and treat tuberculosis patients back before there was a cure, and this one opened as a small wooden building in 1910. In 1926, the county replaced it with a 5-story brick hospital for more than 400 patients. It's a long, curving block of dark red brick with a Gothic tower in the middle. The upper floors are open-air galleries because fresh air was the treatment. Nothing's been inside it for decades. The daytime historical tour runs about 2 hours and walks you through the building and what happened in it. At night, they run paranormal tours instead. Book either one early, the weekends go. And since half of what's coming is in this city, let me get its name right once. Nobody here says Louisville. They squash it down to roughly Louisville, and the general principle seems to be the fewest syllables you can get away with. Number 5. Underneath that same city, there's 100 acres of worked-out limestone mine called Mega Cavern. Crews cut rock out of it for over 40 years, and that stone went into bridges and roads across the Midwest. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, officials drew up plans to shelter 50,000 people in it. Now you zipline through it. 6 lines, 2 of them side by side so you can race, plus a pair of rope bridges strung over the mined-out drops, and it's the only fully underground zipline course anywhere. There's a rope challenge course down there too, and a 70-minute tram ride if you'd sooner stay on the floor and hear how the place got hollowed out. Come in November or December, and they fill the whole thing with lights and let you drive your own car through it. Number 6. 20 minutes from Red River Gorge at Rogers is the one I'd send anybody to first. A limestone mine out there flooded, and now you paddle through it. It's called Gorge Underground. More than 5 miles of water inside the rock in square-cut passages with a flat ceiling a few feet over your head. They light the water from below, so it goes an unreal glowing green, and some of the kayaks have clear hulls, which means you're sitting on top of a lit green room looking down into it. A mine holds its temperature, so a July afternoon down there is a good deal cooler than the parking lot. Book it on its own, because it's a ticketed operation and not something you come across on a hike. Number 7. Frankfurt's the state capital, and most people drive past it, which is a mistake, because Buffalo Trace Distillery gives its tours away. The standard tour is free, and so is the tasting at the end of it, and so are the hard hat tour and the Old Tailor tour. In a state where whiskey tourism has gotten seriously expensive, one of the oldest and best-known distilleries in it charges nothing. You do need the booking mechanics. Reservations open 8 weeks out, dropping Wednesday mornings at 10, and the good dates are gone within 10 minutes. If you miss that, a small number of walk-up spots go to whoever's in the line before opening. If you miss those two, you can still get a tasting upstairs in the gift shop. And whatever else you do there, walk up the hill behind the main house to the gardens, which is where the distillery gets quiet. Free tours are the kind of thing I keep a running list of. The money-saving guide down in the description is where mine lives. Next to the Kentucky operators, I'd hand a friend. Have a look at those before you buy a single distillery ticket. Number 8. Up in the northern tip of the state, on the Ohio River, there's a town whose mayor is a dog. Rabbit Hash is a general store and a handful of buildings, and that's not a joke or a recent stunt. Since 1998, this town has elected dogs to the office. It started as a fundraiser to fix a church roof, run by the local historical society, and $1 buys a vote. The first mayor was a dog called Goofy Bornman. A black lab named Junior held it after him, then a border collie for 8 years, then a French bulldog called Wilbur Beast, who won with over 13,000 votes. The seat currently belongs to a blue-tick coonhound named Boone. The store is a white clapboard building with a hand-painted sign. It dates to the 19th century. It burned down in 2016, and they rebuilt it. 20 minutes. Buy something. Shake the mayor's paw. Number 9. 25 miles south of Louisville, at Clermont, is Bernheim. It's an arboretum, meaning a park planted deliberately as a collection of trees, and it's the official one for the state. What people actually drive out there for are the forest giants. A Danish artist named Thomas Dambo built 3 enormous figures out of nothing but salvaged wood, including offcuts from the Lovell Slugger Bat Factory down the road, and hid them along the trails. There's a mother figure called Mama Lamari and 2 children with her. They're lying down rather than standing, sprawled across the forest floor in shingled wood, and when you come round the bend, you're roughly shoulder height on a reclining giant. It stops you dead. Bernheim asks for a donation instead of charging, somewhere around $15 a car, and the easy trails fill up. One routing note that saves you a drive. It shares a highway exit with the Jim Beam Distillery. Number 10. Now the horses, and here's the straight answer. The Kentucky Derby has run at Churchill Downs in Lovell since 1875, though the twin spires on every postcard didn't go up until 1895. Derby Day itself is a crowd you won't get near without planning a year out and spending serious money. Any other day, the Kentucky Derby Museum on the site is open and runs guided walks out onto the track. That's the version to do. You get the grandstand, the dirt, the spires, and the whole history of the race without the hat or the second mortgage. But if what you want is good horses running in front of you, drive to Keeneland in Lexington. Keeneland only races in April and October, never Mondays or Tuesdays, first race at 1 in the afternoon, and general admission runs from single digits up to about $15. Pound for pound, it's the best value in Kentucky racing, and it isn't close. Number 11. Go west. The far western end of the state is a strip of land with Kentucky Lake on one side and Lake Barkley on the other, and the whole of it is land between the lakes, 170,000 acres of federal ground set aside for recreation. Legally, nobody can build on it, which is why the roads out there are empty and the restaurants have tables. The thing to do is the Elk and Bison Prairie. 700 fenced acres, a 3.5-mile paved loop, $5 a car, dawn to dusk every day of the year. You stay in the vehicle, no bikes and no walking, and you crawl around it. Go in the cool months, September through February, and if you can get there in October, the bull elk are bugling, which is a noise that carries across open grass and doesn't sound like it belongs in this part of the country. Kentucky Lake next door covers more surface water than any other man-made lake east of the Mississippi. The site also runs a working farm from the 1800s called the Home Place. Number 12. There's a 300-acre park in the middle of Lovell that most people drive past without registering what it is, because it's a cemetery. Cave Hill was laid out in 1848 as a Victorian garden cemetery, and that's the operative word. Enormous specimen trees, lakes, herons, winding drives, and an arboretum's worth of planting between the monuments. Somebody put it better than I could. It's an arboretum with headstones, not a graveyard with a few trees in it. Muhammad Ali is buried here. So is Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man who built Kentucky Fried Chicken out of a roadside cafe. The cemetery painted lines on the driveway so you can find them, green for Ali and yellow for Sanders. You can drive the whole thing without leaving your car, which is why it comes up over and over from visitors who can't walk far, and it's open Monday through Saturday. Give it a couple of hours and you'll understand why people who live here treat it as a park. Number 13. Sanders isn't the only Kentuckian with a monument in this city. There's a 120-foot baseball bat leaning against the front of the Lovell Slugger Museum and Factory downtown, painted to look like timber and weighing 68,000 pounds, and it's a scale copy of Babe Ruth's own 34-inch bat. Inside is a working factory, so you watch bats being turned for players who'll use them this season. The thing that makes it worth the ticket is that they let you hold real bats that real players used. One is a Ruth bat he notched himself, one cut per home run, and he used it for 21 of his 60 in 1927. You're holding the actual object. Everyone leaves with a miniature bat of their own. Number 14. Here's the one to drive past. You'll see the billboards for Dinosaur World in Cave City on your way to Mammoth Cave, and the kids will start on you. It's 150 life-size dinosaurs in fiberglass and concrete standing along wooded paths with a fossil dig and gem panning. 45 minutes and small children in the car? Fine. They'll have a good time. But the complaint that keeps surfacing from people who've been is the price against the upkeep. It feels dated and the rides cost extra on top of admission. I wouldn't give it an afternoon when Mammoth Cave is 10 minutes up the road. Number 15, 10 minutes the other direction, in Bowling Green, is a museum with a hole in its floor. Just before 6 in the morning on the 12th of February 2014, a sinkhole opened under the National Corvette Museum's dome and ate 8 Corvettes. A prehistoric cave roof had given out. Nobody was hurt. 7 cars came back up and 5 of those were past saving. And rather than scrap them, the museum parked the wrecks on the floor, rusted and folded up beside the intact cars. There's a window in the floor now so you can look into the hole. Bowling Green is also the only place on Earth where a Corvette gets built, and the plant runs public tours through the museum. Anyone who's done both will tell you the factory is the better half, and they're right. It only runs in short blocks a few times a year. You book online, and you need 2 tickets for the same day, one for the museum and one for the plant. Look at the calendar early. If the blocks are gone, the sinkhole wrecks still carry the stop. Number 16, same town and the water's back. Lost River Cave runs the only underground boat tour in Kentucky. 45 minutes all in, 20 of it a walk down through the woods to a wide low cave mouth in the side of the valley, then 25 on the water. The history is what makes it. Nearly 40,000 Union soldiers camped here between 1862 and 1865. Then from 1933 into the early 60s, somebody ran a nightclub in the mouth of that cave, the Cavern Nightclub, with a stage and a bar and a dance floor, and people drove out from Bowling Green to dance underground. When it closed, the site became a dump until volunteers dug it out in the 90s. You're floating through what used to be a dance floor. Number 17. The next one's free and takes an hour. The Big Four Bridge in Lovell went up in 1895 to carry trains, sat abandoned for decades, and opened to people on foot and bikes in February 2013. The Indiana ramp came later, in May 2014, and that's the part that matters because you can now walk the whole half mile over the Ohio River and come down in a different state. After dark, the ironwork gets lit and the colors cycle. Don't turn round at the far end. Jeffersonville, Indiana has an old-fashioned confectionery called Shemp's on that side, and a little downstream is Falls of the Ohio State Park, where the river runs over a bed of exposed fossils you can walk out onto when the water's low. It's a herons and eagles place, and it's much bigger than it looks from the bridge, so don't budget 15 minutes for it. Number 18. Old Lovell is a residential neighborhood south of downtown, and it holds one of the largest unbroken stretches of Victorian houses in the country. 3- and 4-story brick and stone turrets, deep porches, stained glass, all of it still lived in. How it ranks against other cities is disputed, so I'll leave the league table alone and tell you plainly that it's remarkable to walk through. St. James Court is the block to do, and go late in the afternoon when the light comes down the street sideways. Number 19. Lovell also has a park system almost nobody mentions, and it's the real thing. Cherokee Park was laid out by Frederick Law Olmsted, the man who designed Central Park in New York, and at its heart is a scenic loop of about 2.5 miles with separate lanes for cars and for everyone on foot or on a bike. There are more than 18 Olmsted parks in this city, and tree-lined parkways connect them. The whole network was designed as one piece back in the 19th century. Out on the eastern edge is the newer half of the story, the parklands of Floyd's Fork, roughly 4,000 acres across 4 parks, joined up by a 19-mile greenway you can ride end to end. A resident described it to me as a small national park inside the city limits, and having walked a stretch of it, that's fair. If this list is doing its job, hit the like button. It's the whole reason the next person searching Kentucky finds it. Number 20. You have to eat. The dish every search engine hands you is the hot brown, and you should have one at the Brown Hotel in Lovell, because a chef there called Fred Schmidt invented it in 1926. Thick toast, sliced turkey, a cheese sauce over the top, bacon and tomato, baked until the top browns. He built it for guests coming off the hotel's nightly dinner dance who were sick of ham and eggs. I eat it once, for the history. Then take local advice, because it's telling that when a visitor asked people in Lovell what the one Kentucky dish is and offered up the hot brown, the thread went quiet. Ask the same people what to eat in their own city, and they get loud about Mexican food and about a Nepalese place called Kathmandu that outranked everything else in the conversation. Number 21. Lexington's an hour east, and if the horses are why you came, this is where they live. Kentucky Horse Park is a working farm and museum spread over 1,200 acres with demonstrations daily and every breed you can name in the barns. The part that gets people isn't in the program. Man-O-War is buried here, moved to the park in 1977 along with the bronze of him that stands over the grave, and the statue is deliberately bigger than the horse ever was. Behind the Hall of Champions, a tree-lined path runs past the graves of other champions, 4 go among them. It's a quiet, slightly strange corner of what's otherwise a family attraction, and it's the bit of the park I think about. Number 22. Which brings us to the thing Kentucky sells hardest. The Kentucky Bourbon Trail is an official list put together by the state's Distillers Association of distilleries you can tour, and you collect stamps in a passport as you work through it. As of January 2026, there are 68 stops on it, more than double what there were a few years back. Kentucky makes most of the world's bourbon, and this is where it happens. Here's the honest version. I got bored partway through the 3rd distillery, and I like bourbon. They're largely the same visit. The grain, the still, the warehouse where barrels sit for years, a tasting at the end. By the 3rd one, the 4th one teaches you nothing. 2 a day is the pace, and the people who blocked out 4 days for it all say they'd have given it 1. Do a big distillery and a small one and stop there. 2 things that'll save you real trouble. You can't drive between distilleries and drink at them, so hire a driver, and Bardstown is full of companies that exist for exactly that. Base yourself in Bardstown too, because the map works from there. Heaven Hill's in town, Jim Beam's 15 minutes out, and Mammoth Cave, Lexington, and Frankfort all sit about an hour away. While you're there, the old Talbot Tavern has been pouring since 1779 and calls itself the oldest bourbon bar in the world. Number 23. 90 minutes north of Bardstown, at Williamstown, somebody built Noah's Ark at full size. to the measurements given in the Bible. It's 510 feet long, 85 wide, and 51 high, which puts it at about a football field and a half of wooden ship sitting in a green Kentucky field. Whatever you make of the story behind it, standing next to the object is genuinely startling. It reads as a real ship, dry docked in farmland. 3 floors of exhibits inside cover the voyage. Outside there's a petting zoo with camels and kangaroos, and zip lines running up to 1,600 feet at 150 feet off the ground. Know the price before you commit to the drive, though, because adult admission is running close to $100 per person. If the subject is why you're going, that's money well spent. If it's curiosity, go in with the number in your head. Number 24. 2 miles south of Slade and next door to Red River Gorge is Natural Bridge State Resort Park. Same rock, same forest, so do the two together. The arch here spans 78 feet and stands 65 feet tall, and it's on the order of 1,000,000 years old. You walk out on top of it, on bare sandstone with a wooden rail along the edge and the treetops well below you. You can hike up, and it's honest work, or you can ride the skylift, an open red chairlift that carries you about a mile up the hillside in 11 minutes. Watch the season on that because it only runs from the first weekend of April to the last Sunday in October, and outside those dates, the only way up is your legs. Number 25. An hour south of Lovell, at Hodgenville, Abraham Lincoln was born on a farm in 1809, and there's a small neoclassical memorial in pale pink granite standing over the site at the top of a very wide flight of steps. Theodore Roosevelt laid the cornerstone in 1909, William Howard Taft opened it in 1911, and about 100,000 ordinary Americans paid for it between them. There's a log cabin inside, and you should know what it is before you climb those steps, because plenty of people walk in believing it's the cabin Lincoln was born in. It isn't. The National Park Service calls it the symbolic birth cabin. Its logs mostly date from the 1840s, and the real one was lost long before anyone thought to save it. So the country built a monument around an empty space, and I'd rather know that going in. 9 miles away, the Knob Creek site is where he actually spent his boyhood. Number 26. 4 hours west, where the Tennessee River runs into the Ohio, is Paducah. In 2013, the United Nations Culture Agency, the body that names World Heritage Sites, designated it a creative city for crafts and folk art. Very few places anywhere hold that. It earned it with a decision made in 2000. The city started paying artists to move into a rundown neighborhood called Lower Town, handing out cheap houses and studio space, and it worked. Lower Town is now streets of restored brick and frame houses with working studios on the ground floors, and you can walk in off the sidewalk. The anchor is the National Quilt Museum, and don't let the word quilt talk you out of it. Quilters fly in from the far side of the world for this building, and the work on those walls is textile art, not bedding. Number 27. Last one, the far southeastern corner, at Middlesboro, where Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee all touch. Cumberland Gap is the low notch in the mountains that the Wilderness Road went through in 1775, and for a stretch of years, most of the traffic heading into the interior of the continent squeezed through this one gap. Drive the Pinnacle Overlook Road. Just under 4 miles of 2 lanes, switchbacks the whole way, cut into the mountain in 1929. At the top, you're at about 2,440 feet, at a stone-walled platform with a curved steel rail, and the ridges roll away in front of you into 3 states at once. Come at sunrise, and the valley under you is often filled edge to edge with cloud. So that's Kentucky, and it's a driving state, which is the one thing to make peace with before you come. The gorge is at one end, and the lakes are at the other, and some of the hours in between are just corn. If you've only got a week, take the eastern half. A few nights near Slade gets you the gorge, the arch, and the flooded mine. A few more in Bardstown gets you the cave, the distilleries, and Lincoln. Save the west for a second trip, because Paducah deserves better than a day of driving each way. Go in October if you can, when the elk are bugling and the gorge turns, and accept the crowds. I came for the bourbon, like everybody does. I left thinking about the limestone.